Mary Jane on the hot seat.
Good night.
Welcome, folks. This is House Corrections and Institutions Committee. It's Wednesday, February 18th. We are going to be working on the parole board issues that are outstanding. We had a committee discussion, I believe it was last week. And these are some of the issues that we were concerned about and wanting to resolve. One is their budget process and how that would work going forward. And trying to figure out what the exact program needs would be. And what the process would be for parole board submitting their budget to whom, and what that process would look like. Would it go directly to DOC? Would it go directly to the Secretary of the Agency of Human Services? We haven't made any decision on that at all. And so we would need to talk about that. And then the other issue was legal representation. And what is the legal representation for? Is it to help them in training? Or is it also to help them when there's cases before them that they actually have access to legal advice? And if they do, how that looks, how that would work. So those were kind of the outstanding issues that we were looking at. This doesn't look good because Mary Jane has this look on her face like,
Sorry, I was just kind of staring off.
I was like,
You're not supposed to sit today.
Squeeze you off and
I was reading my notes and
prepping. So those are the outstanding issues. The bill itself, we haven't really spent much time lately on it in terms of term limitation, the number of members to be on the parole board. I don't even remember other parts to it because we haven't looked at it. Oops. That is not the right folder. This is the right folder. So we haven't really looked at it too much. We do have a draft 1.1 on it. But I think once we resolve these outstanding issues, then we can go back and get another draft incorporating what is discussed today and incorporating the previous changes for that. So I'm going to ask Mary Jane to come on up. I believe that there has been some conversations with the respective parties that have occurred that may resolve some of these issues, hopefully. So Mary Jane, welcome. And if you could identify yourself for the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, committee. Mary Jane Ainsworth and the director of the Vermont Parole Board. So we have had some conversations between myself, AHS, DOC, and the Attorney General's office to discuss the legal representation issue and the budgetary formulating the budget. And I would like to touch upon legal representation first, if that's okay with all of you. So there is currently a $25,000 appropriation for legal services for the board in the current FY26 budget. It has been removed for the FY27 budget.
So the 25,000 is still there
For this year.
in the current budget.
Yes,
It expires in June of this year.
correct.
For FY27 budget, that 25,000 has been eliminated. So there has been nothing encumbered of the 25,000 in the current fiscal year.
Correct. So the goal would be for these funds to be used for a pilot year to hire external legal counsel, not through the not being the Attorney General's office or a DOC AHS attorney, but a external legal counsel to provide training and legal advice to the board. The Attorney General's office would then help the board and DOC with a simplified bid process to identify and contract with appropriate external legal support. as the state already has such contracts in support of other similarly sized boards. And then, I'll go ahead.
So I just want clarity on that. 'Cause this has been my bugaboo, maybe only mine, may not be the committee's. But when there is particularly a revocation hearing,
Mhm.
the offender has legal counsel. DOC has legal counsel and her board does not. So how does that get resolved?
I don't think it's necessary for the board to have legal counsel at the revocation hearings. I believe that if the board is properly trained in conducting the hearings, the rules of evidence, the rules of due process, then the legal counsel would be there to provide the training, the legal assistance after the fact, or any litigation, if any were to arise. But I feel like a properly trained board would be the better place, and have our chair, the chair of the hearing, run the hearings. I feel a legal counsel may be helpful to, if there's an issue, to reach out to during a hearing, but not to have them at every single hearing. I think it would muck up the hearing process.
But you're saying there needs to be some ability for the board at the revocation hearing to have access to legal counsel if they need it.
If they need it, if I would say that'd be a very small need, we haven't needed it during hearings. I could maybe one time some questions have come up, but usually the chair or myself can mitigate those questions, or we postpone the hearing to get that advice. I think there is movement in the due process, that allows that we could postpone the hearing, that we could either take a break or postpone it to another day, get that legal advice, then reconvene the hearing. There is not a need to finish that hearing right then and there.
But the caveat to that is you need that legal training up front.
Yes.
And if you don't have that, that puts more pressure on the back end of really needing legal advice.
And that's why we really wanted to focus this $25,000 on that training capacity and to build those training modules and the training information to the board members.
Questions? Sure.
How ongoing would that then need to be? You just mentioned training modules, so, but like how often are you gonna think about refreshing this or require the board to maybe do an additional training or?
I think it's always good to look at those, especially on an annual basis, or update it if a new legal case comes out, because if there's been a challenge, there may be some changes that need to happen based on some litigation. So it's hard to say, because it's hard to say how often litigation and lawsuits are going to happen, and case law is going to change things, but it's always good to look at least annually, and to have those refresher trainings.
And there are no guidelines like national, for example, about like for medical doctors, I'm thinking about CME, right? Like how many hours you should do every year for year 5 or.
There are not any guidelines nationally. I have been looking at that. I did talk to the president of the Association of Pro-Land Authorities International. I spoke to him on Friday. National Institute of Corrections is really investing more into their parole board member trainings, which includes some of those modules. It's not where we have those specific training hours. So that's something that we need to set up as a board, and it's the language in this bill and this additional funding to have some of the drafting the training components will be extremely helpful.
Kevin,
Do
yep.
you have a recommendation for a group to fill that void with the 25,000?
I don't have a I don't think it'll necessarily be a group. I think it's going to be, we would look to go out for bid for an attorney to help. This would be specifically around the due process in the violations piece of the training. I think having an attorney to do that, also possibly look at our violation process, our scheduling process and so forth would be very helpful as well.
So it'd be very limited in terms of what part of the
As a
planning board venue.
I think as a start, and then we would then work on through the budgetary process and next year, look at collaboration to see what scope of resources may be needed to look for FY '28. So it would be a start.
25,000, I didn't think I'd ever say this, is chump change in the scheme of, attorneys and that. So what do you think you would get for the 25,000?
I think we could get enough hours to look at, to help develop some of this training, the basic outlines. I would have to defer to one of the attorneys in the room that might be able to speak more of hours wise, but I think we could get, this is a good way to get some additional training for the board.
So the pilot project would be for training the board members on the legal aspects around due process and the violation process. So it'd be very limited and very narrow. So that's one piece.
And then the Attorney General's office would then support us and provide litigation guidance to the board.
So that brings up my conflict there.
So I never even pulled out the statute until now. But I'm looking at the parole board, and how it fits underneath the Department of Corrections. And it's parole board independence is a section of that, right? But it's pretty explicit, the parole board, in a pending parole revocation hearing, the parole board shall not be counseled by assistant attorney generals or the Department of Corrections. But then it's weird because the next part says, but if they are, you have to make sure the defender general's in the mix on it, right?
That's for training, right?
That's for the training part there.
Right, what's happening, that's for the training, that's not for a hearing.
Well, in a pending revocation hearing, the parole board shall not be counseled by assistant attorney generals or the Department of Corrections.
Think
Yeah,
of-
the next part is for
If the attorney general
provide.
is in the training, so
So
you need to get the defender general in the mix anyways, right, according to current statute?
training.
Yeah,
But not if you use an outside counsel.
but not if you use an outside counsel.
But the outside counsel is not going to be there for the parole board hearings or revocation. It's only going to be there, what's being proposed, it's only going to be there for training around due process and the process around violations. Is what I understood with the pilot project.
And some legal advice, if legal advice is needed.
And if some legal advice is needed, would that be done would that attorney be able to be reached during a hearing that you might run into a situation where you need some legal advice?
Potentially, however, if that attorney couldn't be reached or it wasn't something that we needed to resolve right there in that moment, we could postpone to get that legal advice.
It's a concern I've had, I think some members have had, is when the parole board is involved in a hearing. And if the defender, the offender has legal advice representation. DOC has legal representation at the table. Parole board has none. And
And DOC
I have trouble with that.
And DOC doesn't have legal representation at the table anymore. It's just the parolee that has legal representation at the table. DOC is just presenting the evidence to be, the information to be reviewed.
So the testimony we've heard from the AG's office, there were 4 folks that in the past that were there. 2 of those folks have now gone to DOC. And then 2 are left to represent DOC. And no, so Todd is shaking his head, no. So I'm gonna go to the Attorney General's office and let Todd answer this one. And Todd, if you could identify yourself for the record.
Thank you, Chair. Todd Delos, Assistant Attorney General. In the past, and I would say as recently as 4 to 6 months ago, the AGO, the 4 individuals in the DOC litigation unit, they work for DOC, they're Assistant Attorneys General. We talked a little bit about that divided style we've got. 2 of those folks would be responsible for representing probation and parole at parole hearings. And 2 of those folks would be responsible for supporting the board. More recently, DOC has requested that we no longer represent PMP for the board, which is a return to past practice, as I understand it. And so those 4 folks are just continuing to carry on with the rest of the work they do representing DOC in litigation, counseling, et cetera. So it's not as though the positions don't move. This was not a full-time element of their work. It was an episodic piece of work that they did. And so they're just continuing to provide legal services for DOC. I just want to be clear that no positions moved around.
I think this was asked, but do you have any documentation of how episodic that was?
We don't, because we just work for DOC. So DOC assigns the work, and as they shift it around, we shift around what we focus on.
I go back to what Connor said, the parole board is an independent body. Granted, they're under DOC. Their budget's incorporated within the DOC budget. But by statute, they're an independent body. So my concern is that they have legal counsel that is not connected to DOC in any way. Because if the legal counsel is connected to DOC, you got the fox guarding the hen.
And I think, Chair, the proposal is that that independence, both for training and ad hoc advice, would be piloted through this contract. That the reason we're involved is that a different element of our office would help put the bid together, because we've helped other boards like the Department of Liquor and Lotteries Board, the criminal justice boards, where they need this kind of independence, hearing officer kind of support and or training. We've helped put those contracts together. We
And how
weren't,
much were those contracts?
I can get them. I didn't grab them this morning. I apologize for that, but I can send them to Tate. They're all available. But I would say part of the issue that we ran into with the $25,000 originally was that it didn't get to the general counsel part of our office that does a lot of contracting support. And it wasn't until just before we started putting this legislation together, and that we made that connection that there are other legal firms out there providing this work very similarly who could be interested in picking this up. So where the RFP didn't work, we do feel comfortable that we'll be able to find support for this. And as Mary Jane testified, then I think DOC and AHS are going to talk about resource requirements and figure out how that factors into the budget.
Yes.
The kind of proposal on the table just based on financial constraints here, because like it seems reasonable to me that the parole board should be able to have an in-house counsel full time. Is there not enough work for them, do you think? I feel like one position could both provide the trainings and counsel at the revocation hearings.
I can't speak to that. It wasn't put forward in the governor's budget. So that's why we just currently have the $25,000.
But in a perfect world, would you have enough work for an in-house attorney, do you think?
I don't know if we would for a full-time in-house attorney. I am not 100% on that. But having one that we can consult with would be very helpful.
Well, also, we have to keep in mind, and maybe this is for a specific, the legal, I don't want to say the legal in-house, but we're going to have a lot of changes on the parole board in the next year. We're going to have a new chair. There's a couple long-term members who are retiring. They have the institutional knowledge, 3 people, and we're going to lose all that. And it's really bringing those new people up to speed in terms of what the legal requirements are. And what the requirements are of the board and how you assess someone's risk and how you determine whether someone should be released on parole and what those conditions would be. And all within the laws of Vermont. And you can't expect a layperson to know all that, particularly brand new to a board that maybe knows absolutely nothing about corrections or the laws. And that's what concerns me, at least for the short term. Once folks can get some of the, just like being a legislator, the longer you're here, the more you understand, the less help you're going to need from legal counsel, as you start processing how it works and you start learning how to read the language and you start understanding, oh yeah, there's another part of statute that has an impact. When you're brand new as a legislator, you're clueless on that. You know, a person coming in on the parole board is probably pretty clueless about DOC and the judiciary and someone's rights. And that's what concerns me about the board not having legal counsel or support around them. Because you're putting a lot of pressure on the executive director and you're putting a lot of pressure on a brand new chair that may not know the topic. Mary.
Has the board ever had a case filed against them because of a decision that was made? So
Yes.
what does that look like in the scheme of attorneys' cost and whatever else? And we may have an answer over here.
So as with any other state entity, if they are sued, the Attorney General's office represents them. And it's a different branch of the Attorney General's office. The civil division covers whether it's the parole board or the natural resources board, sometimes the judiciary. We handle all of those cases.
And you take care of the cost.
I mean, it's all baked into
Right
the
there.
into the budget.
So where are we as a committee on what Mary Jane put on the table about a pilot project? It would be training for the board members around due process and violation process. It would be a pilot project to hire an outside counsel for that. Troy.
Supportive, I would want something in there, some sort of evaluative component at the end of it all. Was 25K enough? Did it suffice to get the training that feels sufficient? Some sort of report back. I'm hesitant to think 25K is enough to provide ongoing sort of this sort of both ad hoc representation as well as training.
We find, isn't it? James?
I would agree. I don't know that 25 is even close enough, but I also want to know who the training is coming from. We talked about the different national organizations, et cetera. Is it tapping into the resources? Is it something you're making up on, from literature from here, literature from there, how that program is going to look and who's delivering it is something I would be very interested in.
We're moving though towards a potential model where both this as needed representation and training are provided by the same.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I would use a national organization for that as much as I would use an outside attorney service somewhere nearby.
Somebody, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
have a horse in the race as far as who does it. I want to know what the plan is.
Well, there's two different things for training. You've got training in terms of being a board member and topics, but also you've got the training on the legal side of how you approach those topics and what's required. So that's a whole different entity than just the regular training of being a parole board member. That's where your national piece comes in, I would assume, for training of being a regular board member. Right, or not?
Right, I would say the national piece comes in for the regular board member. I think also having an in-house curriculum is one of my dreams.
Yeah.
That I would like to, is one of my goals to create is a training manual for board members. So when they come on, they get right now they get our policies and procedures manual, our structured decision-making framework training. This violations due process would then go in that and then keep expanding onto it with like the conditions guidance that we've gotten over the years from national entities and so forth, and expand on to this. And I think with this legal component, having a set legal counsel to help draft this and have somebody to keep the continuity of the advice and the training and just to answer the questions and having that available is much better than necessarily looking at some of this on the national level, but definitely to tap into some of those national trainings to build more comprehensive how-to onboarding. Because right now, a lot of it's on the job training, basically.
But I think I heard you say that so far there have been very few situations where you needed immediate answer from council because you could postpone if you had to. That's what I'm hearing.
Mhm.
So since we don't have excess budget, I don't know why we want to keep throwing more money at something that doesn't sound like Mary Jane's asking for.
I think she is asking for help. She's
And
asking.
I think
She's asking for 25,000 for some training that would result in a manual that would be maintained year after year. Well, that's what I'm hearing is that it'll be up.
and to have some is access to legal advice, to have that continuity of someone to go to for that legal advice. I think in the moment in the hearings right now, we have the institutional knowledge of our chair and our vice chair and myself who can brainstorm and pivot. Some of the newer board members don't have that institutional knowledge yet. But as Madam Chair stated, our chairman is leaving this year. When his replacement has been our vice chair is not seeking, I don't believe is seeking reappointment next year when her term, or in 2 years, I don't know if it's next year when her term is up. And that leaves us with the rest of our board, one other board member, I'm not sure where he's at, that has the longer knowledge, but then the rest of our board is relatively new within the last 5 to 10 years.
So if the current model goes through, you have 25K, assume you get that. If you run out of money halfway through the year, what happens? Do you go back to status quo? Or?
We would go back to our current model. We would take the knowledge and all the information that we had, we would put it together, and then we would still have the Attorney General's office for legal counsel.
Yeah.
Right.
That sort of goes back to what Troy and James were talking about, but to the degree that we're going to look at what happens this year, say we do this pilot, what kind of report back could you envision? I mean, I can see, number of hours that we used counsel for training, number of times that we had to go to them for a case, but like, I don't know what that tells you, like, I'm just trying to picture what, how we would know what you used and what you were missing or what you needed.
I think having a report back would definitely be able to tell a lot of where did the Attorney General's office have to where were they stepping in? How much time did the Attorney General's office spend on, in what type of cases? What were we using for training? Were there other legal needs that couldn't be met? I think definitely doing a analysis both of product and cost, I think would be very beneficial. And I think it would help drive some of these numbers, the unknown numbers.
So we can have another draft. We're gonna have a draft made up that incorporates this pilot project and some of the structure around it. Also, I heard that ideally there should be yearly training. Ideally, and a report back. I would kind of put out the 25,000 to the committee that maybe that's not enough to really accomplish what we want. We might want to try looking at 50,000. See what we might be able to cobble together so that it's successful. You can't keep nickel and diming because you get nothing. Because you already went out for an RFP with 25,000, had no bids. I don't want to go down that road again, have that happen again. A waste of time and resources to put an RFP together and then go out and not get anything good. I don't want to repeat of that. I want it to be successful. And I want the parole board to have the tools that they need to work with. Because again, I go back, members of the parole board, the 5 of them, the 7 of them, quorum is 3, however you look at it. There's a lot of weight on those folks making a decision on a person's liberty that's under state custody. I keep going back to that.
I think the 50,000 is reasonable.
Anything else on, we'll work with Hillary. I'll recommend that Hillary look at this YouTube. Come in with a draft. Now let's transition to budgeting.
All right, so budgeting, we also discussed budgeting as well. I have been, I am now participating, I've been in the last 2 quarters, I've participated in budgeting with the Department of Corrections Accounting Division. We're invested to continue those quarterly budget meetings. The Chief Operations Officer from AHS is going to join me at those hearings. I mean, not hearings, sorry. Have hearings on the brain from this morning. At those meetings, and we are going, and that's where we will work through those budgetary needs. There's a communication, we've been talking about a communication stream to make sure those needs are distributed to the appropriate folks at both DOC and AHS. And we're building in some redundancies to ensure that those are communicated.
So you've worked with the parties here to work that through. Would it be helpful if we had language in the bill for session law, which is not in the green books, but would lay out the parameter of what we would like to see over the next few years in terms of the budget process for the parole board budget, to lay out the process you've just laid out?
I don't think it's necessary. Now we've had those conversations. I don't see it necessary to put it in session law. I would leave that up to the committee. I think we now have a process in place. All the appropriate individuals have been at the table and we have been having those conversations.
So what if all these people go away? Who's going to have that knowledge of going forward?
Very, I would assume that it would get passed down, but I understand.
Well, that's my concern, because we can assume that it may not be carried on. Just would like the good hard work that you've put into it, and if it works, to continue on, and not all of a sudden like, oops, we don't have anyone that has an understanding of what we've done.
I mean, one thing we toyed with in the committee is a line item. Separate, totally separate line item for the parole board, which has some real complications too. But you do get some administrative help from DOC, you're housed within DOC, they pay your fee for space, that type of thing. Think they pay. I believe so. So if you had a totally separate line item in the state budget, that would all have to come out of your budget, which means an increase to the 600,000. That's your current budget. So we're trying to find a middle of the road, that there is a known process for how the parole board submits their budget to meet their needs. And that's why I'm thinking a session law for a couple of years, and I hate to do this, but a report back, if we remember there's a report back, to see how it's working. Because you never know, it's a general election year, you never know what's going to happen. And administrations change, and then everybody changes. Your secretary changes, your commissioners, everything changes. And even that can change within a current administration where folks have decided to move on to some other positions.
But even within our committee, we should know whoever going forward will be sitting at these seats should have an understanding of how the process goes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm with Mary. I think it's, it feels like all these are like the right now kind of solutions, but not the right solution. And I think the right solution is still full independence. Move it out of chapter 28 to title 3 or something, where all these other independent commissions are. And I know it comes with like an administrative burden, but until you have until you're able to make your own decisions about what you need to meet your needs, you're never going to be truly independent. I really don't think so.
Other folks? Step up at once. Thoughts?
Unless it's broke, don't fix it.
It is broke.
Yeah. Not hearing that. And they're asking for 25,000 for training and setting up policies so they can pass that on to new board members. I'm not hearing that it's broke. If we get sued, God forbid, Attorney General steps in and covers that liability. Maybe I'm mishearing.
Other folks?
I'm okay with suggesting 50, but
Well, we've kind of moved on to their budgeting process.
And we don't know if we'll get 50, right? Like, that's the other thing.
Yeah. So if we look at the budgeting process in terms of what they've worked out, because we've started looking at this, the Agency of Human Services started paying attention over the last couple of weeks. Then they sort of started talking and figuring out a process that Mary Jane or the executive director could go forward with their budget needs. And it gets worked up the chain, basically, to the Secretary of the Agency of Human Services. So we could do language in session law that would lay out that process for the next couple of years with the intent of a recommendation being made back to the legislature whether or not the parole board should be a separate entity with their separate line item. We give a trial run on this new budgeting process. And then a recommendation at the end of a couple years, I'm just putting this out as a thought, that it comes back with whether or not a line item, separate total line item for the total independence of the parole board that's not under DOC. Just a thought.
I haven't even opened the can of worms on volunteers and.
Then you get into your per diem. What is your per diem for each member?
$100 per day of work unless you're a chair, and the chair is $20,500 per year. And that has not been, the chair has not been updated since 2006, I believe it was. And the per diem for the members was increased 6 years ago.
Anybody here want to volunteer to be on the parole board?
yeah, no thanks.
I don't think anybody got paid worse than us.
And then you're working 20 hours a week. So where are we in terms of the budgeting process? The thought that I put on the table. Is that dead? Is there other thoughts?
The plan in place that the folks who are looking at it in 2 years or that. But then there's something that we can follow, whoever is sitting in these seats can follow, and the other agencies can follow.
Agreed.
I agree with Mary.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you can't hear.
No, that's fine. So does that also include looking to see with a recommendation of going forward with a separate line item or not?
Right, that would be.
That would be part of it. Because they may decide, no, we don't want to go forward with the line item, or yeah, we do. Other folks? Makes sense?
And again, I would think the budget would be based upon what the needs are, not just throwing out a 25 or $50,000
What the parole boards need.
an actual line item budget.
Is their budget right now that I saw in the FY 27 budget was about 600,000, 601, something.
I believe it was, I think FY 26. I don't have that notebook on me. It was around 611,000. It was
For the current
for
budget,
the current budget.
that's what I saw also for FY 27.
I wouldn't do it. The only thing that would have probably changed for FY 27 would have been our staffing numbers. Our payroll and benefits.
So folks are comfortable with language being drafted up, possibly section law? To indicate that budget process. There was something else with the parole board that I wanted to touch base on. I thought of it a little while ago and it slipped my mind. It was appointments, when an appointment is to be made for the governor. A process for the parole board of the executive director or the chair to relay what recommendations.
I think that was,
That,
I think that was built in
that make it into the.
1.1. Don't have it on.
Prior to appointing a member or upon notification, the governor would consult with the parole board and chair, with the director and chair. Are you called the executive director or director?
I believe director. Some folks call me the executive director, but I believe in statute I am it's the director.
So we have DOC in the room and we have the AG's office. And do you folks want to weigh in? Anything on what you've just heard at all?
Appreciate, Chair,
Just identify yourself.
I'm sorry, Lord Fisher, General Counsel, Department of Corrections. We were part of the discussion and group that developed what Director Ainsworth just presented to you and fully support that approach.
What about what we've proposed, some of the changes, like with the legal advice, like putting in some, like maybe yearly training, a report back at the training, and then the budgeting, what we just talked about, session law. And to do that type of, what you've just agreed to in terms of the process of the budgeting, the next couple years, and then report back.
I mean, I don't want to divert too far from our process. I can tell you that as far as your concerns about consistency and continuum, should people change that are in the seats, the parole board has been built in, at least for DOC's perspective, into the internal budgeting reach out for both messaging out and receipt in of information. So they're now officially listed in the queue. So that has all been addressed internally for DOC purposes. So anytime anything goes out to any of the departments, Director Ainsworth will be included on that. So I don't really have an opinion. I don't think we have an opinion either way on reporting back. Happy to supplement and assist Director from DOC's perspective on that reporting. I know you probably want to hear from her more so than us anyway. If I may just clarify one point, that we touched upon. DOC has requested, the statute says they may have the assistance of the attorney generals at the parole board. And I want to be clear that we have recently pulled that request out and are not asking for any assistance. We're trying to align the process that we do with the state's attorneys in probation violations. And so there's no lawyers there for DOC. And I just want to be mindful to point out that the parole board issues the conditions for these individuals. The Department of Corrections enforces those conditions, supervises the individuals, and then assists them in compliance with those terms. So we don't create what the rules are, we just enforce them for the parole board. So
So where are you referring to the may or the shall? Where are you referring to? Because it's not in the bill that we're looking at.
it's not, no, it's not. I think it was in the statute that Representative referring to earlier, that where the training component is in there. It's in that section approximately, and I can locate it for you, but it says that the Department of Corrections may ask either the state's attorneys or the attorney generals to assist in a violation hearing. Prior to COVID, that wasn't a thing. And then as cases have become complicated, Justice for Investment has worked, and the complexity of the case have increased. The department made a request that the parole officers needed a little support in the evidentiary challenges that they were receiving from the Defender General's team. And so unwinding from that and taking our officers out from being prosecutors in this case, because that's not their role. So we're trying to go back to, and I think Attorney Davis referred to past practice in litigation. There's no need for legal counsel to be there for the department. We factually go in and explain what we've seen, attest to what our allegation is in relation to a violation, and then the parole board handles that information and requests what they need to make a determination. So
are you requesting that this current statute be changed? Because if you are, this is the vehicle to do it in this bill.
we are not requesting that change. We just made that change internally to align all of so our field officers weren't confused as to what the different shifting burden was. We needed to keep them aligned with what their task was, either enforcement and supervision of probation conditions, the judicial conditions, or parole board conditions. So, but I wouldn't say that if things changed in the law otherwise and changes the trajectory of the parole board's purview, we may need to look at that again. So I don't know that I would ask for any adjustment there.
Just want to be clear. I know, Connie, you're probably scrolling through trying to find it, right?
Oh, no, I was looking at my
No,
emails.
I was depending on you. I don't mind. Did you have your hand up, Ryan?
Oh, man.
You don't dare.
Somebody else.
He's staying clear of this.
Todd in the AG's office, do you want to weigh in?
Thank you, Chair Todd Davis from the Attorney General's office. Nothing to add to the proposal, and we don't have a position on how the budget moves. That's the administration.
So I know we don't have legal counsel here, but I want the committee to get focused. So I want the committee to pull out draft 1.1. Page 559 and start reading it. And Mary Jane, you can move out of the hot seat, but we've got the folks here. This doesn't deal with anything we talked about today. This deals with the structure of the board in terms of their powers and responsibilities and also the makeup of the board. So I want folks to get refocused. So if you can pull out page 559, draft number 1.1. And while we have folks already here in the room and we have some time, I want folks to start going line by line. So section 1 is the powers and responsibilities. And it's the powers and responsibilities of the commissioner. It's the commissioner of DOC. And it would be up to the commissioner to provide regular training for the board. So if folks can read that section. So, the people thinking. Who provides the regular training for the board?
What this one?
What's in front of us?
The commissioners get to
Commissioner.
line it up, right?
Yep.
So I'm not exactly sure who's providing it.
Mary Jane?
I think the training, as I didn't, you don't have a plan for me, but I think the training is, in this area, is more specific around certain areas around criminogenics, substance use. I think that's the language, but it's more specific around those areas. Coming in as subject matter experts to help train in those areas.
Yeah, you're correct with the subjects.
It's not all the training for the board, it's just specifics training.
Is specific for criminogenic behavior, mental health disorders, substance use treatment, trauma-informed work with victims of crime, and serious crime rehab. So we're anticipating that the Commissioner of DOC is responsible for setting up some form of training to address those topics. And does the commissioner do that now?
Yeah.
Hmm?
We have the corrections come in and do some trainings, but not specific to these trainings. I think this is to expand the working together, and I think we added the language of this would be a collaboration with the director and the chair of the parole board. So it would be a collaborative effort to ensure that these trainings would meet the needs of the board and also meet the needs of meet those topic areas as well.
Mary Jane, but when she asked the question, you said no, and then you said some
I'm sorry.
was being, so which isn't?
I wouldn't call them necessarily specific trainings that the department isn't necessarily coming in doing specific trainings. They are coming in and discussing their policies and procedures with the board, which in a way, when I say it's, in a way it is training the board, but it's more informing the board on their policies and procedures. So the board can better understand the language that the department is using and so forth. Sorry for the confusion.
So for the committee, what you're seeing in lines 13 and 17 is brand new language that doesn't exist now. And have we vetted this enough as a committee to understand this?
I don't know, I mean, I'm kind of thinking out loud from the description we just heard from Mary Jane. It sounds like something that is not going to be done by what we're picturing from the legal counsel. And the budget's not going to be housed within DOC for legal counsel. So this sounds like something separate from the legal training and the legal representation that we've been talking about. This is something that DOC is doing that's a different animal.
But can DOC provide training for mental health disorders, substance use treatment?
That'd be well past, wouldn't it, if that's the case?
I don't know.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, Lori Fisher, General Counsel, Department of Corrections. The ask of the parole board to date, and my experience has been if they see something in the staffing report and the violation report and the information put forward that they don't understand, in all of the subject areas, MJ's the zealous advocate for her team, and they'll reach out and say, hey, we don't know enough about this, and then we send one of our subject matters over to their meeting to answer questions, explain what it is and the like. So it's not, as she says, it's not a formal training where today we're gonna have a module on. It's more of a Q&A, FAQ style obligation, just in response to the request. I read the new language to suggest that that's an ongoing, something that I would assume my team, the legal team, would handle with Director Ainsworth in setting up regular trainings on whatever topic areas they would like.
Who pays for that?
Well, I assume if it's my team and my position, and it's covered by DOC in my world.
Oh, we can't assume we've got to know.
Well, I know how I'm paid, that's all I can tell you, and I would be the one providing training or the individual training, so. Not a clear answer, but
Well, and then, yeah, so now that's taking me back to what I was saying earlier about what I thought I now understood the training to be. So, but now we're back to it being a legal opinion from you and your team, right? Where,
no. It would be, and apologize if I'm not being clear on it,
Fine.
if like risk containment is an example I know you've all heard about,
Right.
and it's was formerly level C. It's a process that has been recently kind of buffed up, and that has caused some confusion by way of the information that comes in our reporting over to the board. So we would literally just be explaining what data we use, what we looked at, how it is applied, how we, for example, classification points, how people get their point systems and what their ratings are. If we say they're high risk or low risk. So it's kind of the underlying data explanation for the information so that they can probably analyze the information when they make their decision. It's not anything about guiding them on what they should decide, or, you know, what the case law might ferret out. But it's more of what's the materials that DOC is providing so that you understand it and apply it appropriately in your decision.
thanks. But yeah, then that leaves me in a gray area in between in terms of who's supposed to fund it and who's in charge, right? I mean, this doesn't sound like the pilot or the 25K or the 50K or whatever it is. Yeah, I mean, right, so this would remain with DOC on their time. I don't know, there's gonna be some gray areas, seems like, but
So this is new language. This isn't in current statute. This is in new language. The commissioner of DOC is responsible to provide regular training to address these conditions that are on lines 15, 16, and 17. Now, I'm assuming the commissioner could reach out to other entities to provide this. But that would be within DOC's budget, I would assume. So we haven't really vetted this, so I don't know where the committee members are. This is the time to start thinking, folks. And not have it spoon-fed to you. Troy?
I mean, those are important topics for a parole board to be trained on as they're intersecting with parolees. So I have zero problem with. I'm not too concerned about where this training is coming from, as written in here. I think they're important topics. Yeah. That's where I am.
Other folks? Can we defend this language on the floor?
I mean, I agree with Troy. They need to be trained in it, and we're not giving a venue for any other training or money for it, so it's got to be DOC. It's a.
Yeah, we have to. It's just there's. You know, I mean, once we get this funded, there's gonna be some retired criminal defense attorney that is gonna see this as a great retirement gig.
We hope. So the committee is comfortable with this language?
I feel like it's a trick question.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's just to provide, so I mean, the commissioners, DOC, so DOC is providing
in some form.
In some form, so it's, DOC's paying for it and organizing it, and it seems like it's pretty straightforward. If we get torn up, we get torn up. Mary will stand up and she'll figure it out for us.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate that. But at a certain point, we can put in statute what it is we want to see, but I don't think it's our job to tell people how to implement it precisely. Like if you tell me to paint a wall, I don't need you to give me a 14-step process on how to paint the wall. Just tell me to paint the wall.
I'm gonna need you to cut in the corners.
Well, you gotta be LCG
You
to
know what to hire you now, yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to section 2.
Yeah.
And this is where the board membership is kind of being expanded, but not. Because currently it's 5 members with 2 alternates.
Right, and then we're going
And
to-
now we're just going to 7, but no, the quorum is still 3. And we did take out, no member would serve more than 2 consecutive terms. We did also take out the term limits, because that was in the original bill. Okay. In line 6, we changed prior to appointing a member. I think we changed that to upon notification. Okay, we
Say
changed
that
that.
again.
Upon notification
Of a vacancy.
of a vacancy.
Yeah, I have that note
Yeah.
written in here that we put that in there.
Yeah.
Which was 16 BSA, 1693.
Yep. Because right now, there really isn't any consultation between the parole board and the 5th floor in terms of what qualifications would really they'd like to have in a brand new member. And in lines 9 through 11, we're changing the experience part of board members from correctional treatment, crime prevention, or human relations to criminogenic behavior, mental health treatment, substance use disorder, or serious crime rehabilitation. And then we're also adding that there would be on the board a balance of different knowledge and experience. Are we fine with number 2?
Aside from upon notification.
Yep. Let's go to 3. So for the language that's being crossed out, that's current law. Because we're getting rid of alternates. Language that pertains to alternates.
Right.
That's fairly straightforward.
Top of page 3, we're still keeping the 3 members of the board that constitute a quorum. Even though we're expanding the board to 7, but we know that not all 7 members are ever going to be able to show up.
Yeah, and beyond that, we've heard how, it's somewhat of a burden for members to serve from a time perspective. So this theoretically can lighten that a little bit.
Mary, did you have something? Oh,
Just saying they would be rushing to get their $100.
right. Yes, and this is the next one that says how much the chair gets paid.
Which they're getting paid that now. That's not
And that's been
changing.
in place since when? Do you remember?
72.
20,500?
I think it's been in place since 2005 or 2006.
Thank you.
Everybody else getting ready. Yeah, it says fiscal year 06, so July 1st of
Yeah,
05,
thank
according
you
to
for-
this language.
Yes.
Now, that doesn't preclude it from being a number that was the same
And then the
In previous
34 years before.
then the board members are getting $100 per diem,
Yes.
board member. And when was that done again?
Don't have an exact date.
Ballpark is fine.
I would say within the last 5 to 6 years,
Around 2020.
2019, 2020, and then that's when we also looked at the preparation day and giving them the per diem versus, I think it was $12.50 an hour per prep hour before.
So it all got combined into $100. What was it before? They had a per diem or was it just that $12.50?
No, they had a per diem. I think they were getting $75 per diem. So I think it was just, I have to go back and look, because it was slightly more than the $50 per diem that the other boards were getting, that all the other boards are getting.
This is a good, and it's not specific to only this, but a lot of these things that talk about nominal compensation numbers, if they were just, when they became law, if they were subjected to annual CPI adjustments, then they wouldn't become obsolete like this.
Yep.
It's increasing your state budget.
Like,
It's increasing your state budget.
all right.
You want to keep spending in line.
No, I just, I mean, that's how you end up with these archaic numbers. You know, as on St. Albans City Council, and I think members were getting $10 a month, which might have been reasonable in 1896.
And Adam,
It's a language from the charters.
Mary Jane?
the board members
He's
do also
ready to
get
say
reimbursed for
change.
expenses, their mileage, as well, if they need to travel. This used to be a larger number back when they were traveling to hearings. Now it's just possibly once a month to our office location in Waterbury.
Okay. Anything else on this one? Then
Join us.
lines 11 through 13. So they need to attend trainings at least annually. And that would include trainings beyond what the Commissioner of Corrections needs to provide. So I want to make sure.
Well, why aren't we saying that then?
I don't know, that's my question. So Mary Jane? On lines 11 through 13 on page 3, at least annually, each member would need to attend trainings designated by either you in collaboration with the chair of the board. That would be an additional training to what would be, needs to be provided by the Commissioner of Corrections.
Yeah.
In section 1.
Yeah, so this could be potential other security trainings that we might have, online trainings that I might find, I may come across, like recently I just sent out an email to folks around, to our board members around a National Institute of Corrections training that I thought would be very helpful. It kind of gives an added responsibility, added to the board members to know when we do ask you to do a training, you do that training kind of thing. Because there has been questions by board members of who tells me what to do. When we instituted structured decision-making framework, that was a big contentious item with some of our board members.
And if there's an expense, who picks up the expense?
Right now for the trainings, I will tell you that I utilize any money that we have in our budget. If there's an expense of the training, I ensure that we have the funds for that. If we do not, then I look for some technical assistance that is free to us. I would definitely be cognizant of what money we do have in our budget before we spend that, before we get involved in those trainings.
How much training is happening now on a yearly basis for the board? Can you say ballpark? Is it happening or is it more sporadic?
I wouldn't say we have significant formal training. We do have monthly staff meetings. So we do use those as we look at the current issues that are facing the board. We also look at our structured decision-making framework. We always follow up on that and ensure we are doing quality assurance on that, which includes training, supplemental training to on different domains of that tool. We do send, I've been able to look at our budget to send myself and two other members to the Association of Petroleum Authorities International Conference, which costs approximately $7,500 a year for the three of us to go. Would it be nice to be able to go to like the American Probation Parole Association conference as well? To have more members go, possibly, but I think that's an ask in future budget cycles. To look at, is it even a possibility? But I do look for technical assistance to have folks come in which that assistance is usually sponsored by the Bureau of Justice Administration.
I mean, this is sort of a leading question, but is it fair to assume that with just 5 members, many of whom are seasoned, like the cost would go up relatively soon when there are 7, many of whom are new?
So currently this language that is in here was one of the proposed languages that I had, because currently we treat all 7 members equally. We schedule that equally throughout the month. So we don't treat them, so it wouldn't be a cost increase. I think even if we have the same amount of hearings regardless of whether it's 7 or 5. And I think in General Counsel Fisher pulled up that our other board members average about $10,000 a year for their per diem, for what they receive in per diems and expenses to be on the board. But I do not see, this is not gonna change the cost will not change because it's the current model that the board has been using for many, many years. They just divvy up they use the quorum of 3 to divvy those 7 members up over the hearings a month.
So did I miss how much total funding DOC provides for your team?
So in FY 26, we were, did I get it incorrect? Our appropriation was $611,000. I don't remember the exact number, but then DOC reduced that to a degree into our line items because they took some of the funds to pay for those other costs, such as I'm assuming fee for space and other administrative costs that needed to be spread out for us to function as well.
Out of that 600,000?
Yes,
And is that what you go to pay this kind of
yes.
training? Okay,
Yes.
gotcha. And do you end up having like money at the end of the year? Are you wiped out by midway through or?
We're very close. I keep us in the black.
Okay,
I try to keep us very much so in the black if I can. I don't like to, but I would say we're within a few thousand at the end of the year.
okay. It's tight.
And since we're delineating 20,500 annually for the director,
For the chair.
chair, we don't need to be specifying the archaic $100 a day for the members. I guess,
That may be in another. point.
It's somewhere in Title III, I think, believe.
so we don't need to, it's someplace else.
So, and basically just if this helps to explain our budget line items, the bulk of it is our payroll for myself and the 2 administrative staff, the per diems, which includes the board chair, because his is just lumped in as a per diem. The expenses for mileage, for board members, or myself, I don't claim a lot of mileage.
So coming here.
Not this year.
Do that.
Yeah.
It also includes an out-of-state conference once a year, some other miscellaneous office supplies. It's the bare bone basics that we have. I do my best to operate as low as we can.
Anything else on this one?
Change.
So let's finish up on section 3, which deals with the director. Right now is Mary King. So the director is appointed by the governor after they consult with the board.
Mary Jane, where are you on your 4-year term?
Expire at the end of February twenty twenty.
Expire.
My term expires.
That's a cold way to put
My term
it.
expires at the last day of February twenty twenty-eight.
Okay, so
Years.
a couple
Yeah, this is my first term, I took over the director's term and then I served a term and now I'm in my second full term.
years.
So E is new. So let's read that quickly, and then we've got a whole crew of folks waiting out in the hallway for us, I believe, in the ag fairs.
Yeah.
We can get started quickly with them. So we okay?
Just clarification, right?
Yep. And this covers all the things you're responsible for. Right?
Yes.
Pretty good.
Okay, so I'll sit down with Hillary. I'll recommend she look at the YouTube at the beginning of this to draft up language for the pilot project, legal representation, and the budgeting process. And then we'll have another draft. So we've already gone through half.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, DOC. Thank you, AG's office. Thank you, Mary Jane, the director of the borough board. Thank you.
Thanks so
And we've
much.
got a whole crew of folks out in the hallway about the ag fairs. Why don't we let them in and let's quickly take them. If you need to take a personal break, take one.
Thank you.
Let everyone in. Come in with me, 0.
Come on in.
Come on in. Come on in, Bob.
Drink it all in, sitting.
Mary?
Hi, how are you? You can sit in the hot seat.
My God.
Okay.
You're used to it.
Thank you so
Yeah, I am.
much.
Oh, the maple syrup,
Oh, you're
that's the
very
best
nice.
part.
Are you going to be drinking it again?
Okay, that's great.
Thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. I look forward to this. It's great.
Very good. He's got. Just give me yours.
Just take that one.
He's got his first bonus of the year.
Yes, you're gonna have to claim it.
Thank you.
I wanna make sure I have the right one. So for committee members, we, in the capital bill, we're shifting gears a little bit. We have the building community grants. And we do put money towards our agricultural fairs. And this is under the building community grants section of our capital. So for the past few years, we have appropriated 300,000.
Thanks a lot.
And then there's a board within the ag fairs that distribute that 300,000. Okay,
That's very helpful.
I get a hold of my agenda to make sure I've got the right. I got too many. So we're gonna start out with Bob Allen. Welcome, Bob. You're usually the lead person here, so.
This for a couple of years.
Huh?
So Bob has done this for a couple of years. You've been awesome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, everybody, for hosting this again today. I'm just going to speak very shortly because I'm not here representing a fair. I have several other people here representing fairs. But for those that are not here or in another committee room, we're all thankful for everything you folks do for the fairs, both in the stipends and the capital grants. And they're being put to very good use, as these people will explain to you. I have with me today, I have Robert Condon from Vermont State Fair in Rutland. Art LaFlante from Orleans, Tim Shea from CVE, Champlain Valley Exposition. Cindy's here. Okay, they came out of another meeting. That's why I'm checking. Cindy from Addison, and Randy Bean from Memorial. Miss anybody? Okay, I think that's the group that we have here. There are several other fairs, as you know, through Vermont. And some of them are in another committee room and some of them couldn't make it today, but thank you very much for everything that you do for us. And I'm introducing everybody because I'm one of the past presidents of the Vermont Fair Association. And I work at a couple fairs, but I'm not a director of any of them. So good place to be.
So who would like to go next? Whomever.
Robert, we'll go right around.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Bob.
Nice to see you.
Yes, haven't seen you in a while. Say hi to Esther.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Robert Congdon. I'm the president of the Rutland County Agricultural Society, also known as the Vermont State Fair down in Rutland. So it's a joy to be with you, and to simply start by just saying thank you. Thank you for your support of the capital program as well as the stipends. In the stipends case, it certainly goes a long way to helping us pay out our premiums each year, which gets more public participation. And so in our case, we're paying out roughly $25,000 worth of premiums a fair. And
What do you mean by premiums?
so that's if a person enters a competition, they get basically a nominal prize for the best vegetable or, you know, any of those types of things. So we are receiving just around $10,000 out of the stipend fund. That's our share that comes in. And it also obviously helps with operations and things like that, but
When you're talking about the stipend fund, are you talking about the capital money that's coming out of here, or is that a different pot of money that you're talking about?
so my understanding is, yep, stipends come out of ag agencies and you folks do the capital,
To be clear about that for the committee, usually there's about 30,000 per fair. What
For
is
the
usually
capital,
the
yes.
capital bill, the 300,000 that goes towards infrastructure upgrades.
Mhm.
Could be electrical upgrades, could be booths, could be the grandstands, could be display areas for folks who are participating in the fair. It goes for the infrastructure upgrade. So I don't want to confuse that with the operating costs.
Okay.
Okay? Because we're very specific for the infrastructure upgrades.
Sure. And so when it comes to capital, our capital grants for a number of years, we've been really working on our restroom facilities. So last year, actually, my board, when I presented my budget, was shocked to see that our porta potty line item had gone to zero. We've been spending thousands of dollars on porta potties a year. And in our case, this was the last year we were really excited about the fact that we've utilized and invested that capital money for so many years now that we didn't have to rent porta potties during the fair anymore. Which obviously has less environmental impact as well. The fact that we're on the city sewer system, which it can go to the treatment plant. We don't have to hire the trucks to come in and pump and do the chemicals and all that requires.
Participants.
Absolutely. So going forward, because I know there's always questions about like, what's your future plans? We have some Division of Fire Safety improvements that need to be done to our grandstand to widen the aisles and get railings put in. So we're going to be doing one of those a year for the next several years. We also had a machinery shed that unfortunately prior administrations had let go, and we are in the process of getting finalized so that we can get it rebuilt. So the capital funds, again, are very instrumental in us being the seed money for those types of projects. We certainly spend a lot more than the 30,000 a year, but the 30,000 goes a long way to get things started. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions, but I know there's several other people to talk and we're short on time. So
On time, so it's great. Any questions? Just have, this gives an opportunity for the committee to have a flavor in terms of what projects are being funded with the state dollars that we put in.
thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Can I just add?
Yeah,
Anybody that doesn't understand the capital grants, they have to be spent on a project that's at least a 20-year life. So you can't just buy them or use it today for something that may be gone next year. So it's a 20-year life and the fairs have to operate at least 3 8-hour days. Just quick overview.
yeah, 3.
I know, I think this question was answered last year, but I don't recall. So is the $300,000 allocation, is that just split evenly between all the entities?
For a whole process within the agency that,
If they request that.
If they
Sometimes
request it.
fairs don't request the full amount, then we divide up what's left over amongst them.
I see.
who's next here? Anyone just?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I'm Art LaPlante. I'm the new president of the Orleans County Fairgrounds in Barton. I'm about 10 weeks into my new job and first time I'm here to be able to do this and share some time with you. So thank you. Thank you for having me and my friends here at the Wheel Fairs. Can't thank you enough for the support we get in these capital grants. To give you an example where we are, in the Northeast Kingdom, we've had some serious issues with buildings over the years. Things have declined. We're in the process right now because of the capital grants and support we've received from you folks. We have 2 barns that have come down. We're in the process in the spring to tear down a 3rd one. And last fall, we started to replace the 3 of them with the newest piece of our facility. The largest project since 1969 on the grounds. It's a 60-stall horse barn that is 62 by 150. So in the small area that we are, it's a huge deal to us, and we've been working hard at it. There's been some additional fundraising by some people in the horse industry that have helped out with that a lot. As we speak, we have a group of Amish gentlemen that are working today on this, and we're rolling through the winter and trying to get this done. Completion date, we're hoping early May, mid-May. We've got some events coming up, so again, certainly could not do that, without your help. Going forward, we're looking at 27. That building I had mentioned in 69, it's our Floral Hall. That building is 60 by 300, and it's in some decline, and we're looking to take a portion of that and transform that into a multi-function year-round facility where we can have different events, possibly even wedding venues, that type of thing. So we're looking at a steel frame building that needs insulation and new kitchen area, new ADA compliant bathrooms. And so we're excited of going forward with that. But again, we could not be able to do what we've done in the past few years without your help. And my previous job on the fairgrounds, I guess I still have it because I don't have a replacement yet, but was buildings and grounds superintendent. And when you're working with a facility that started in 1867 and there's still some original buildings there, you're putting a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, if you will, into just keeping some of these things rolling at a comfortable pace. And to reiterate, how important this is to us, we have lost some traction in the equine business, which is continually growing in our area, with people that didn't want to come in and bring their animals to the facility because of the condition of the barns. So to be able to get rid of them and go this avenue is really good. This barn has sparked more interest. We have another entity, a group of individuals that are in the horse pulling business. They're raising the funds themselves. We will have another barn this year that will be 30 by 120 open stall barn just to store horses during these events. So we're excited to see these things happen. And lastly, one thing that really pushes us, if you will, over the edge to help, and assistance is our winter storage. We bring in annually about $35,000 for winter storage. That's a huge help for us. We're going to add with this new barn, with the help of you folks, 9,000 square feet, possibly $5,000, $6,000 annually on top of that 35. That's going to help us out even more. So again, can't thank you enough. So I'll
Great,
Thank you. I'll,
that's great, thank you.
if there's any questions, but I know we have some other folks here that have had a chance to talk.
It's really helpful to hear this. It's helpful to know. You know, we sit here in these committee rooms and we allocate money. And we hope it's going to the right places and really providing back to Vermonters. And you're really providing a service back to Vermonters.
Thank you. Thank you. And,
Appreciate
I'm
that.
able to put last year just about $250,000 into the local community through the fair. And again, it all comes around. So thank you again.
Thank you.
That's great.
So who wants to come up next?
Good afternoon. My name is Randy Beam. I am recently the newly elected president of Lamoille County Field Days.
Well, congratulations or condolences. One or the other.
I think it's congratulations. I know I've been involved with Lamoille for 5 years. I am grounds, keep the grounds all summer long, and then I was in the animal. We can't tell you how thankful we are for the grant. This year, we are using our grant money. We are putting in 2 overhead doors to the 4-H building. At the moment, they're just sliding doors. These are just manual. That's all we need, up and down. Much more secure storage. We put in a new building last year. Well, it was basically an older building that it's now a steel building, Harlow Hall. And the old pad, for instance, was part concrete. And then there's like a 30 by 40 section in the center that is asphalt. And that, of course, can do the weight on it. So one of the main projects that we've already gotten a bid and it's been approved that we will be able to do beginning in May, and that's going to happen the middle of May, is that asphalt is going to be removed, taken out, and it'll be one complete concrete pad. And it just makes it so much more efficient for the vendors that use that building. Also, one thing we were able to do with our grant money, our front ticket booth is in serious need of major repair. And then we have like a separate, I want to say it's like an 8x8, just a little ATM building. What we are doing, which we know it will be there, but with the other projects we have going, we're going to wait until after field days have taken place. But next year, we will have a new front booth, ticket booth, where it is a 2-window booth, and then the ATM building is attached right on. And then we plan on utilizing the old ticket booth out front. We'll need to insulate it, things like that, to have a better like storage area, plus more like a meeting area at the back gate. And then the other thing we're doing, as soon as weather permits, our gates are the long sliding gates. And the back gate, seeing I'm maintenance and have to get in there, I can no longer, I have a blowtorch now, so I can loosen up the road.
I mean, it's not you that's causing the problem, right?
No. But people need, when they have to have access, that's how they access the field days. But instead of the sliding gate, we're going to be replacing it with 2 gates that come together.
That's great.
Much easier. But thank you so much for your time and listening to us. We appreciate everything you're doing for us. Yes.
I just want to drive a point home for the crew here. So you're taking a building that has a concrete outside, but you have asphalt in the middle. You don't have to tear it all out. You don't have to tear the whole thing down.
No.
You just have to take that asphalt out and put concrete in there.
Yes.
Thank you for the creative thinking.
You with your creative thinking.
Thank you.
But I appreciate that. I'm an old farmer and I want to be efficient, but
I love
at the same time, I mean, because when they put up the new building, they extended the concrete for like the steel uprights.
Yep.
So then you got a beautiful section on each side, front and back, this wide of nice new concrete, and then you've got the wave and the put it all. And I know the person that we are able, I actually worked with him about 30 years ago doing concrete, and he's top notch, and I know he'll do a good job for us. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have another question, Joe.
No, just to Sean's point, I'm betting you guys didn't put a study committee out before you removed that pavement.
Thank you, Joe.
That's what I figured.
The thing is, I mean, I know the person that we are having do it. I mean, we looked into it together. So like I said, we know where we can take the old asphalt.
Complete faith in it.
The bigger, there's a much bigger issue that we're dealing with here in this committee, and this is the undercurrent for some of the laughter here for some of these folks, is how do we deal with the Bennington Monument? The moisture that's building, and we're spending a lot of money on studies, engineering, not getting the data or whatever. So that's where some of this.
Thank you so much.
Just one to one, surround it.
So whoever wants to come on next. Okay, and this is really helpful for us. I really appreciate it. And I think the other thing too, that's really coming across is how many different types of projects are being done. Not just one or two particular projects, same project throughout all the fairs. They're all different for your needs.
We all have some maintenance we need to tend to.
Yes.
Tim Shea, Champlain Valley Expo, and again, thank you for your time here today, and I'll echo the comments made before me for the capital grants. We've used ours over the years on not so fancy stuff, but it's freed up money that we can use in other areas. So water infrastructure, electrical infrastructure, HVAC equipment, that by dedicating the capital funds to those projects, we can then do things that maybe help our fair operation, as far as we had to buy a new tractor. And it probably wouldn't qualify for a capital grant, but we could free that money up, put towards golf carts are critical during a fair. And the more we can own them and not rent them, kind of like the whole Portlet story there, it just helps the economics, and we can put more money into fair programming and enhancing the experience of the fair goer. So that money goes a long, long way. You know, we match it. We're fortunate, like I think all the fairs have great community partners that offer their services either in kind or, you know, deeply, deeply discounted, from an excavator to an electrician, because they love the fair. They love being around the fair. They help us in the off season. So thank you very much for that. I also want to touch a bit about the role that fairgrounds play. The fair is not going on. I think we all have to some extent as far as a place for community gathering. And sometimes when things aren't good, you know, we were a COVID hospital during COVID. We do a tremendous amount of public safety training. The Vermont State Police at our fairgrounds probably a dozen times a year. We don't charge for that space, and we're more than happy to have them there. Local police departments are there. The Essex Fire Department reached out to us. As I understand it, there's a tremendous need for fire training facilities in the state. And we have a part of our land that we really don't use for much anything other than a little overflow parking for some trucks during the fair. So we're providing the space to the fire department. And last fall, they placed like 3 Conex boxes, and they're going to stack 2 of them, and they can replicate a house with cut hole with staircases, and they'll burn hay in there to make it smoky. And then they can train the fire department there. And that's the kind of stuff we want to be able to do. And, you know, we host the City of Essex Junction elections. I got going around the whole state, there's roles I play in the community. And when things don't work out for a community, look at the, you know, a bad storm down in Florida, where they stage all the utility trucks in the next town over, fairgrounds. So you need this space in the community, one, for the celebration of your agricultural fair, but 2, to support the community in the good times, and they also need help. So thank you for your time.
And Senator, you had Senator Mazza's reception there too.
Yes. Yeah. No, we miss him dearly. He was a good friend of all you folks there, and on a long serving on our board member of ours for years, so we miss him dearly. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up next.
I am Cindy Cahart from the Addison Fair.
The Cahart name, I served Roger Cahart.
You did, really?
He came in when I did.
That's my father-in-law.
Well, I served with him. You are my sunshine.
That's my daughter's favorite song. You're right. That's cool. Well, thanks again for the capital money. Our fair, our 5-year plan is to replace where we use big tents with buildings. Big tents are expensive. And 2 years ago in a windstorm, we had 3 that were destroyed. So that, and they're hard to come by. So this year we are building, or we're calling it an antique house. I don't know how antique the house is going to be, but it's going to house our household antiques in our antique section of the fair. A few years ago, we did the septic for our new welcome center. Last year, we finished, we had taken down 2 of our cattle barns and built a big cattle barn. And in the future, we have what we call our show tent, where we have the bands play and stuff. We want to put a building up for that. And we use the buildings all for storage in the winter. Right now, the storage is bringing in like $70,000. So, and our groundskeeper keeps telling us, oh, I have room for 1 more car. And 1 more car here, 1 more car there. So, and we have lots of community things at the fairground. The elementary schools do their bike-a-thons. They bring them and can do it on all the roads at the fairgrounds. And we have a tractor pull in the fall that's one that they give all the money to families in need, whether they have health issues and stuff. So we just try to open it up. We've done some weddings and we are just trying to keep it as busy year round. We have horse shows every weekend all year, or else open year.
That's great.
So
thank you.
And the capital fund I can just, when everybody's talking about it, I can picture our meeting when our treasurer is going to write the grant and we are all talking about, okay, what's our next project going to be? And without that, knowing that we are going to have that, it's hard to start a project. So it's, it really, really is helpful.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you.
Anyone else?
I have a question. I'm just curious, is no major thing. Do you own the tents or did you rent them?
The big one for where the bands are, we have to rent. When we replaced the cattle barns, we had been renting a big tent and the tent company didn't have the right size one. So that year they had to put 2 together, and you know what happens when you put 2 tents together, that doesn't work. So there is a fellow in Bridport that used to supply all our tents, and he sold us his tents. And his crew is, I think we have a 5-year contract with them that will pay them to put them up, so none of us had to learn how to put up a tent. But so we do have some. But like I said, 2 years ago, 3 of our tents got ruined on the Sunday before our fair started on Tuesday. So luckily, one of our dairy cattle exhibitors is on the board of Westport Fair in New York. And I went to her, I said, well, do you guys have a tent this size, and this size? And so they brought them, we borrowed their tents and they borrowed our big cement blocks for the horse bowl. So. Yes, but yeah, the tents are a nightmare for fairgrounds.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Wow, kept it right. Terrific.
Yes.
Can you guys teach the rest of our witnesses?
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Organization.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're actually gonna have a 5-minute break. Can you?
That's it?
Oh, my God.
Oh, I
Waiting
did.
for Hillary to come in with
Yes.
his language, driver's license. Thank you.